Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Off the Dome podcast, your favorite sports podcast, where this time two sports lovers sit and give their hot takes off the dome. I am Mustang.
And I'm Rebo Hustle.
We're without Redfish tonight because he is working. He's watching basketball.
He's watching basketball for the next 2 weeks.
Yeah. Not going to lie, I wouldn't want to be in his situation.
Oh, yeah. High school basketball is tough to watch, especially if it's not just like the highest of level.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. But down to the nitty-gritty. Last episode, if you might recall, or if you check our social medias out, we did a giveaway for an autographed Saints Isaiah Foskey jersey. And we have ran the numbers, randomized it. We have our winner. By the time you're seeing this, we may have already reached out to you, but the winner is at Twitman I think is how you pronounce it.
We may be butchering it, but that's the best we could do.
Yeah, I think that's how you say your username, but congratulations. Like I said, we'll be getting with you. By the time you see this video, you might have already reached out to you, but we will be reaching out, getting some details from you to get you this jersey. But yeah, this episode we'll be going over Pelicans, what they've done in recent, also what they could do in the future of this season. We'll be going over LSU baseball, going over the past little series they had against Northern Illinois and Stony Brook. Talking about those games, and we'll talk about this upcoming weekend where
Off to Minute Maid.
Off Minute Maid Stadium.
Off Minute Maid Stadium.
That's right. Off the Dome is taking on Minute Maid to view the College Classic. So it's going to be a fun time. Got some characters coming along with us.
Boy, do we.
Pretty excited. And then finally, we'll be talking about the Combine. Maybe, how people are seeing these prospects, how they're expected to go in the draft, and we'll be talking about some of the guys that we think might be underlooked or overlooked.
Yeah, and also some guys
Combine.
that the Saints should be on. That should definitely be on the Saints list.
Yeah. So, with that being said, we'll get into our first subject, being your New Orleans Pelicans. This one's all you, Rebo.
Yeah, I mean, last time we talked, the Pelicans facing the end of March, of course, and we said they got 5 games till the end of March, and they have, in my opinion, they had to win 4 of them. That's out the door already.
Oh, really?
Brandon Ingram had a non-COVID illness, so he missed the first 2 games. We lost to the Heat in a scrappy game, which of course is what you would expect from the Heat and Pelicans, if we're being honest. But of course we started last week with a win against the Rockets, and 2 nights ago we fell to the Bulls, who we should have put them away in the third quarter.
Sounds like Kobe White did his thing again.
He definitely did some things, but it was just, we just lost it in the third quarter, which is almost to be expected at this point. But we had a 15-point lead. You end up blowing it, losing by 8. But yeah, we've got the Knicks tonight, Tuesday. Pacers on a back-to-back, and you get Pacers on Friday, March 1st. It's a tough little road. You got back-to-back road games. The Knicks are nothing to roll over. Pacers are certainly not anything to roll over. I hope we win both. Can I see a world that we only come away with 1 win out of those 3? It's possible, but personally, I think we almost have to win at least 2 of them.
Yeah, getting down towards the end of the season, it's becoming crunch time, and it's approaching fast. And Pelicans seem to just be losing these games that most people think they should win. I think the Pelicans are the epitome of you're only as good as your worst quarter.
Yeah.
And we've seen it all season, past 3 seasons. Pelicans come out of halftime high on, their lead going into halftime and kind of just lose the lead in a blink of an eye, really. They just let these teams go on runs straight out the gate. So I think, if we work on anything in the end of the season, it should be coming out of halftime with a passion, with a purpose, and playing your brand of basketball, not letting the other team dictate how that quarter is going to go.
Yeah, I mean, in the past 3 games this past week, we did what am I looking for? We were missing one of our big 3 in each of those 3 games. BI missed the first 2, and CJ missed the last one. And then also in the Heat game, there was a bit of a scuffle, which got Jose suspended for 3 games, and one more guy suspended for a game.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
On the Pelicans?
Najee Marshall.
Oh.
Najee Marshall suspended for a game. Jimmy Butler suspended for a game. Jose for 3. Thomas Bryant for 3.
So it sounds like Thomas Bryant and Jose got into it, and...
Well, the scuffle was over, and Jose and Thomas Bryant were both about to check in, and so they started stepping to each other, and then both of them swung.
Okay.
Instant 3 games.
Yeah.
So you were really suffering from a lack of guard play against the Bulls, and if the Bulls have anything, it's guards on guards on guards. And I think that's what really came to play. We even saw Herb take Kobe White because Kobe White torched us the last time we played the Bulls, and Herb always guards their best offensive player, and he held him to not an insane game, but the Bulls just still prevailed because they were able to get some pace and outrun the length of the Pels in this game. I'm interested to see if CJ's back tonight against the Knicks. And, of course, we're going to need him against the Pacers. But, yeah, like you said, it all depends on what our worst quarter. It all depends on the defensive side of the ball, in my opinion. Because if we can force turnovers, I guess it's not even the defensive side of the ball. It's just a turnover game. If we have more, if we cause more turnovers than give up, we're almost guaranteed to win.
Yeah. It's I find it tough to watch the Pelicans around this time every year because it feels like, start the season off great, go into All-Star break excellent, on top of the world, and then it just kind of slowly falls apart until the end of the season where they eventually decide it's time to catch heat again, but sometimes it's too little too late.
Yeah, and the way that this schedule has been constructed, you can't do that this year.
Yeah, we got some heavy hitters.
We might have the toughest April schedule. We talked about it last episode, but having the Lakers, Warriors, Kings, Suns twice all in April, that's going to be tough.
Yeah. And then, Bucks, Celtics to end March.
Yeah.
So, Thunder, Bucks, Celtics to end March. So, if you're the Pelicans, you got to start figuring things out. I know, like you said, we haven't been without, our full healthy roster the past few games. But I think against playing these teams like, the Bulls.
The Bulls aren't a playoff team. The Knicks are a lower Eastern Conference team. The Pacers are really good this year, but you gotta find a way to get it done, no matter who's on the court.
Yeah. As of now, as of what you predict going forward, where do you see the Pelicans finishing the season?
I'm hoping for a top 6 seed. We're sitting at 6 right now, half game above the Kings. But the Mavs are going on a run. It's very possible that they're able to escape the play-in. We're also tied with the Suns still. It looks good. I'm trying to make my ideal goal is to escape the play-in.
Yeah, if looking at the standings currently, really seeds 4 through 9 can all.
Oh yeah.
Shake things up. The Nuggets could drop, Pelicans could rise. Even the Lakers have 31 wins. They could blow up in these last couple months here.
Yeah, me and Redfish were talking earlier this week about from 1 to 9 in the West is the gap between 1 and 2 in the East. Like, amount of games different.
9 games?
Something like that. 7.5.
Wow. The Celtics are running away with 45 wins.
Yeah, so nobody's set was the real point of me and Redfish's discussion. Whereas, yes, the Thunder are on a heater. They got a 5-game win streak right now. The Nuggets are always in contention for that 1 seed. But just depending on how the season plays out, 1 through 9 can all be the 1 seed.
Yeah. Yeah, it's looking tough because, I mean, all these games are close. Like, you take a look at things. Seed 4, like I said, the Clippers, 37 wins. If you go all the way down to the Lakers at the 9th seed, they're at 31 wins. So we're talking 6-game difference.
Yeah.
Between the 4 and the 9 spots. A lot of teams, a lot of potential to mix things up. I just hope the Pelicans can remain within the top half of this group.
I mean, and as crazy as it may be, the 6th spot might be the toughest spot. The Nuggets aren't going to go down in the first round. And I think you match up well against the Thunder. I don't think you've lost to the Thunder in probably 2 years. So maybe the way that it shakes out, play-in's the better path, but definitely the best path is guaranteed 4 games in the playoffs. Or I don't know if we're winning a championship this year or not, but you need the experience of some playoff basketball.
Right. Yeah, so, I think they can scratch together a few wins, maybe move up to the 5 seed, switch with the Suns. That would be excellent.
Clippers are tough too, but we got so much more basketball to play this season. There's no telling.
It's still, a month and a half left?
Yeah.
So
almost 2 whole months, yeah.
So don't you worry. If you're here for Pelicans content, we will continue to follow this team till they die.
Also, Zion's been playing great. Past 3 games, almost triple-double all 3 games. By the way.
That's what we like to hear.
So Stephen A. can shove it up his butt. Okay.
All right. So, Pelicans are playing as we speak. Quick check-in, 8 minutes left in the first quarter. Game just started not that long ago. They are currently up 8-7 against the Knicks, playing in New York. Would be nice tonight. But I think that'll be it for your New Orleans Pelicans. We will now move on to LSU Tigers baseball. I love looking at that graphic. I know that, people out there watching, or not watching, listening on Spotify, you can't see these graphics, but that LSU national championship one, it's just
good old number 7, man.
It hits you. So, that being said, we had another 4-game series against 2 lesser teams. When you look at D1 baseball, but these teams, just like the first series, they came out with a fire. Obviously, we're talking about Northern Illinois and Stony Brook. Northern Illinois, those 2 games we played, I mean, I kind of felt safe the whole game.
Yeah,
we're going to come out on top. However, Stony Brook, I mean, we dropped one.
Yeah.
We're no longer undefeated. Stony Brook, once again, beats the Tigers in Baton Rouge.
Yeah, I mean, Stony Brook's it just seems to always have LSU's number. Come in and beat a Kevin Gosman-led Tigers in a super regional. I mean, the guy we faced on Saturday, the guy we faced on Saturday was legit. No, it was Friday because they played Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Sunday. So the guy we placed on Friday, Stony Brook's pitcher, might be one of the best arms that isn't in the SEC. Jay Johnson knew that, said that coming in, and also it seems like we can't. I don't know if it's a mental battle of the winds blowing in, so we can't do anything on offense because you saw it last weekend, you see it this weekend, and both games that it was blowing in, we had really low scores. We just managed to just be the better team against Northern Illinois. But also we've seen some pitching struggling this weekend, and in my opinion, one of the best weekends out of Paxton Kling that we've seen ever.
Yeah, he was on fire this weekend. We did see some what's the word I'm looking for here? I mean, obviously they struggled against Stony Brook, dropping a game, but even in the second game, where Tigers put up a bunch of runs, but Stony Brook did too. So obviously,
theory on that.
You have a theory on it.
Yeah.
Well, let's hear it.
Well, I think Jay Johnson just wanted to play 9 innings. And so last week's pod, we talked about how we thought we saw all of LSU's bullpen. Everybody were going to use this season. And then Stony Brook game 1, whenever the game was pretty much over, put in Michael Bucknam, guy we didn't see last weekend. And then in Stony Brook game 2, we put him in again whenever we were up by like 12 runs or something. To give up some runs, put Cam Johnson in, who's been struggling, see if he can do anything. Gave up a couple runs.
He still struggled.
Still struggled to find his strike zone. And then after that, they put in Christian Little, who we know has struggled to find the strike zone in the past, but has some elite stuff. And I really felt like it was let me put him in a pressure situation to see how he reacts. And it wasn't great. And then you brought in Ulloa.
I mean, it wasn't great, but
it could have been worse.
It could have been a lot worse. I also feel like, from a pitching standpoint, I think he did his job. It's just they had some miscues. Like, for instance, the first batter he faced got a base hit, ground ball, first base side. They had a runner on. If Jared Jones isn't holding that runner on, it's an easy ground ball. So, chalk it up to what you will. That's one of them. The other one was deep ball hit to right field. Right fielder just lost the ball in the sun.
Yeah.
Easy double for Stony Brook. And then right after that is when he got pulled for Ulloa. So, call it what you will. I still see potential in this kid. I think he has the correct stuff. I think he's, starting to realize that he can do the job. He just got a little unlucky. So I'm interested to see where he goes from here. If he's going to let that harp on him, or if he's going to be like, hey, it happens to the best of them. I mean, it's baseball. No one's going to be perfect.
Yeah, I feel like we have all sides of Christian Little on this podcast. Like, you giving him every benefit of the doubt.
It's not okay. So it's not like, that I think that
you think you see the potential.
Yeah, I see the potential. I'm not saying that he's greatness. That
yeah.
I know he's going to break out. I just think that he
he has potential to be a solid arm out of your bullpen. And Redfish rather die than watch him pitch a baseball ever again. And I'm just like, if he's good, he's good. And if he's bad, he's bad.
Yeah.
I'm happy either way. Like, as long as Jay Johnson realizes there's a problem, or if he's good, we fix it there.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that you got to play him. You got to see him. If he's doing bad, you don't have to play him. Because we saw what I would consider his worst in that Auburn game.
Arkansas. Maybe Auburn too, but definitely Arkansas.
It was Auburn where he walked, I think, 8 runners in an inning.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely struggled to find a strike zone last year, but I really do believe in his stuff like you do. And as long as he can let the nerves pass or whatever it may be, he has potential to be one of the great arms out of the bullpen.
Yeah.
Another thing to talk about, Hayden Travinsky had a monster opening weekend. Struggled a whole lot from the plate. Can't ask for a guy to be elite every time he goes up to bat, but it is something to touch on. If it continues this week, then we might have a bit of a problem, but I don't think there's a world where you're going to take number 8 out of the lineup.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen him be so clutch, so many situations last season. I can only see him improving this season, really, especially his mustache. That thing is legit. But yeah, I think LSU baseball's current state is they just need to manufacture some more runs. Like in these small games, not being able to do that against, the lesser teams is going to come back to bite them when we get to SEC play, when we get to, if we get to the College World Series again. You're going to have to be able to manufacture some runs. We're not going to be able to hit the home run ball and power our way through like last season. We might. We have some sluggers on this team, no doubt.
Yeah, Mac Bingham hit that thing right into the wind and sailed over
Did
the
not
bleachers.
care, yeah. But, as it has been looking so far, I think this team is one of those teams that can just keep an inning, make it last forever.
Yeah.
Just by base hits and
you've
doubles.
kind of seen it like every first inning.
Yeah.
Every first inning has been a nice 20-minute inning. But after that, we just have been struggling. I mean, I don't know if it's just approach or what are we going to do if we have a guy on base. Like, maybe we're getting too mental with it. But first innings have been great.
Yeah. We'll get to see a real test this weekend.
Yes.
We'll be playing.
Also where I was going.
We'll be playing Texas. Another team, ULL, who we've seen struggle in the past. LSU struggled against ULL in the past, even just last season, dropping a game to them. And then Texas State.
Not Rice. Rice is also going to be there, but we're not playing them.
Good. And Rice is another team that finds a way to beat the Tigers in Baton Rouge.
But yeah, I mean, that's the biggest thing looking forward to this coming weekend. I think it's just the Houston Classic.
College Classic.
Houston
College Classic, yep.
Yeah, but that's another thing to look forward to is we've seen our first real big test. Another elite team, ranked team. Are they even ranked? They're probably ranked. Probably like 11 or something like that right now. But yeah, probably close to your Big 12, one of your Big 12 favorites at least. What do we do against a big arm that's not that also has bats behind him? Couldn't make this harder. But yeah, I mean, we lost a game. Vanderbilt's lost 4 this year already. A game is not huge, but I mean, you learn from your losses at least.
Texas is currently sitting at the 14th spot with a 6-1 record.
Vanderbilt's also going to be there. Thank God we're missing them.
Vanderbilt is too. They were ninth with a 5-3 record. Sucks. I'm gonna keep talking. I'm gonna see who Texas played so far.
We can get into some stats. That's for sure. We saw another great weekend out of Luke Holman, looking to be your ace. Maybe he's not as crazy good as Paul Skeens, but he's a legit arm. Was a Friday night starter last year in the SEC. I believe he can do it again. Thatcher Hurd looked rough once more. Could probably see him maybe even take a step back into the bullpen. Jay Johnson will probably ride him at least to the SEC play. Gage Jump got his first start. He only pitched like 3 innings or so because I think he's still on a pitch count. But he looked very good in it.
Not only are they, watching these pitchers pitch count, but they're also, in these early games, they're wanting to get as many arms in there as they can just to see how they'll react during a real game, these different clutch moments. So these first few weeks of college baseball, you're going to see a lot of guys come out and throw these games. But whenever you get down to, the conference play, the bigger games, you're going to see a set rotation almost when it comes to these college pitchers, with maybe a few different guys in the bullpen coming out for different scenarios like lefty versus righty splits. And then, of course, you have the midweek games where you don't know what you'll see.
Yeah, and I mean, we know Jay Johnson loves to make adjustments to the game itself. yes, Thatcher Hurd may be pitching a great game, but he likes Nate Ackenhausen against this batter. And so he pulls Thatcher Hurd even though he's having a pretty good game. And so that's the thing I've come to notice a lot about Jay Johnson and even come to like, even though it's like, oh, you got to ride the hot hand. Well, if it's winning baseball, it's winning baseball.
Yeah, he knows the formula to win baseball games for sure. So I trust every decision he makes.
Yeah.
Yeah, just to backtrack a little bit, Texas opened up the season against San Diego, won the first game, lost the second in extra innings, and then won the third game. So they're one loss to San Diego, about pretty similar to both LSU and Wake Forest at this point, dropping one game to a team they probably shouldn't have.
Yeah.
What are your expectations for this Houston College Classic?
Well, if Texas doesn't have a guy that can throw sidearm, I think we'll be in good shape.
Which is crazy to me because, I mean, it used to be fairly common for a pitcher's release point to be, more side than up top. But now we're seeing it go back to the original, the over the head release point. And I think they got away from the sidearm because the ball, when you throw a fastball sidearm, it doesn't move left and right. It just stays put. Breaking balls are a lot harder to control sidearm. Usually, if you can't really get on top of the ball, or in this case under the ball, it results in a pretty flat, not moving ball that's only going 75, 80 miles an hour. I mean, which, me, I ain't hitting that, but I was a pitcher.
But these guys should.
But yeah, I guess it's because it's fairly uncommon now to see that kind of release point.
I don't know if we have anybody in our bullpen that does it.
Yeah.
And so you haven't seen it all fall. You haven't seen it all spring practices. So it's a possibility that it's just like they haven't seen enough of it, but they struggled against the guy from VMI who also pitched sidearm, and then the reliever in the Stony Brook game pitched sidearm and struggled again.
Yeah, that puzzles me. I mean, growing up, I've tried to throw some sidearm. I wanted to be like those big leaguers that were doing it at the time. Every pitching coach I went to, don't do it.
Not enough movement.
Not enough movement. Ball's going to be flat and slow. You're going to get more velo, more speed coming over the top of the ball. You just got more behind it that way.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But yeah, as long as Texas doesn't have a guy that throws sidearm, I think that at least you should be able to handle ULL and Texas State. So Texas is your only real challenge. That's going to be the Friday night game. So you have all the arms available possible. And there's no way that the lineup doesn't include Travinsky, White, who's getting better and better in his ramp up from having his I don't know if it was a rotator cuff, but something with shoulder surgery. But yeah, I feel like it's very possible to get 3 wins. If you lose one, you lose one.
Yeah. And it is the College Classic. It's all for charity, obviously. So that's the main point here. But we want to see our Tigers win while we give our money to beer, which goes to charity.
Well, that's a beer.
There will be.
Maybe not bought at Minute Maid Park because, good Lord, that was
so
tough
expensive.
2 years ago.
So expensive.
But there will be a lot bought at the Dollar General or the Walgreens, CVS, whatever it may be. Something in Houston's going to get paid.
Yeah. Probably some restaurants, too. We got a lot of guys that can eat.
Oh, do we?
All right. I think that'll wrap up our LSU baseball segment. Be sure to tune in next week when we recap
the party that will be the Houston trip.
Yeah, it'll be fun for sure. But moving on to our last segment, we're going to talk about the NFL Combine, some prospects, some mock drafts, just a little, upcoming NFL draft in general. as you can see from that graphic, plenty of talent in this upcoming draft. As we're looking at some of these mock drafts, a lot of them are very similar. And that being, picks 1, 2, and 3. A lot of them have the quarterbacks going. Caleb Williams, obviously, he's pretty much chalked up to number 1 overall somehow. And then a lot of people saying the Commanders who have picked 2 will be taking Jaden Daniels. I personally disagree.
I'm a big Sam Howell guy, though.
Yes, obviously not because I don't think Jaden Daniels is worthy of pick 2.
Yeah.
He's worthy of pick 1. But because, as the Commanders have just seen last year with Sam Howell, they have not only a quarterback that can, produce in the NFL, but who can win you a fair amount of games if he has the right weaponry, if he has a defense backing his offense. But a big point in this offseason is that the Commanders went out and got Cliff Kingsbury to be their offensive coordinator, who we've seen have success with Kyler Murray, similar quarterback to Jaden Daniels. So I can see them picking Jaden Daniels here. I'm just sad for Sam Howell.
Yeah, I mean, the only possibility that they don't take quarterback, in my opinion, is for them to trade out.
Yeah.
And there's not much to get back in this draft.
Right.
The only team with 2 first-round picks is the Bears, who have the pick in front of you. And then are you willing to push the bucket so far down the road to say, I want to pick next year and the year after? So, the reason that the Bears are going quarterback here, even though everybody's saying Justin Fields is still a good quarterback, is you're only going to see a top 3 pick every so often.
Right.
You don't want to be in that position, but some people do, and the Bears have the first pick second year in a row. They traded out last year. So they have, in my opinion, they have to stick and take a quarterback. You struggled last year. Yes, Fields got hurt, but there's no reason that Jaden Daniels isn't good enough to be a number 2 pick, like we said. So it's a no-brainer, from my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of, there's a lot of opinions on these prospects coming up. But I think a lot of these guys, I could see landing a lot of different places, really. So much parity, so much depth at each position. But when you go down to pick 14, we have the Saints pick. And we've talked about this, just a few minutes ago before we, started the podcast.
Yeah.
But what do the Saints need in this draft?
Yeah, and a lot of people are projecting Brock Bowers just because he's going to fall and he's an elite talent. But you got one of the deepest tight end rooms in the league. And now that Ryan Ramczak's coming back, do you need an offensive tackle? Andrews Peat played a great left tackle last year. You kind of need interior line is your biggest need. Whereas I can see us going a weapon like a wide receiver, whether that be Rome Odunze if he's still on the board, or
Brian Thomas.
Maybe even reaching and getting Brian Thomas, which isn't a reach in my opinion, but according to every mock draft created, it is. But, yeah, because you need to replace Michael Thomas, because right now...
With another Thomas.
You've only got Shaheed and Olave that are reliable receivers, in my opinion. Yes, A.T. Perry stepped up at the end of the year.
He did. Got a few touchdowns. Lynn Bowden also stepped up.
Yeah, but, I mean, those are really wide receiver 4 guys you bring in if you're going empty, stuff like that. Also, we talked about there's one guy on each level of your defense
getting old
that have potential this to be their last season.
Yeah.
Whether it's Cam Jordan, Demario Davis, or Tyrann Mathieu. They're all getting pretty old. Yes, they all are playing great still to this day, but you got to start looking into the future a little bit. There's some edge rushers that have some potential to be some of the best edge rushers the NFL's ever seen, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely heavy. I mean, last season too, it felt like some really good edge rushers. I mean, obviously Will Anderson, but this draft feels like it could be just as full of potential as the last one. You got people like Dallas Turner out of Bama, one of my favorites, Chop Robinson out of Penn State, and then Jared Verse out of Florida State. Gonna be a dog. Gonna be a dog.
If you could pick anybody that is Cam Jordan but young, it's Jared Verse, in my opinion.
Yeah.
A guy that's a monster, a guy that can play every snap of the game, whether it's a run play or defensive, or pass play. He's great rusher, great run stopper. In my opinion, he is my leading pick. But does he fall to you? We see different things out of almost every draft, whether he gets drafted behind the Saints or in front of the Saints. But also guys like Cooper DeJean to play safety. Yes, he played corner in college, but he's a pretty big corner.
Yeah, 6'1", 200 pounds. It's pretty big. 6'1" is on the bigger side for cornerback. 200 pounds is
a lot. Like
30, 40 pounds heavier than most cornerbacks in the NFL. So it'll be interesting to see what teams do with him. I've seen a few mock drafts where he goes to the Eagles, a few where he goes to the Lions. It'll be interesting to see because I think he'd be better in the NFL as a safety.
He'd be nasty on the Eagles.
He would. He definitely would. But he still has, a lot of talent, a lot of potential. Yeah, I'm excited to see where he lands and what he can do.
Yeah, and then with the 14th pick, you're right there in the middle of the first round. In my opinion, it really depends on what things happen before you and who's still on the board, because we've seen in some mock drafts, Talia Fugoa, which might be my offensive tackle number 1, is going at 20, which I don't know if you can pass up on him. There's guys that you can't pass up on, and I think that's why a lot of people are saying that we're going to take Brock Bowers.
The more and more I think about it, yes, we have incredible depth at tight end, but you look at what these rookie tight ends did last season, right? Laporta, Kincaid, Mayer. Immediately came in and made an impact on these teams. Do you think he has the potential to be just like the tight ends from last season?
Yeah, I mean, he was undoubtedly the best tight end in college football 2 years ago. Everybody, that's why he's the only tight end that we've talked about today. We went through 2 rounds.
Yeah.
So there's just guys that you can't pass up on, and I think that's why 14 is kind of a sweet spot, because you can let the Raiders get weird and pull a J.J. McCarthy or something like that.
Yeah.
So I honestly I think it's a great spot to be in. You kind of get there's more than 15 guys that are must gets in this draft, and so you're gonna get a guy. You're going to get a guy that's going to be a guy somebody who's legit. You're going to get a franchise maker.
Yeah, plenty of talent in this draft. Now we're going to switch things up. Talk about who maybe doesn't look like they could be a guy. I think we both have the same.
Can we just write the quarterbacks off?
Well, yeah.
But yeah, my guy that I don't think has potential to be a franchise changer is Liatu Latu out of UCLA. I think he's a 5th or 6th year senior. He got medically retired at the college he was at before he was at UCLA, and then UCLA was like, "Yeah, you can play for us. That's fine." I mean, he had a great season. Don't get me wrong, but a lot of people,
it's a big risk.
Yeah, there's so much to question about the medical side of. Will he even be cleared to play in the NFL, or does he pass the combine physical and stuff like that? Which if he does, great, and if he has a great NFL career, awesome. But I personally would hate if the Saints took that risk.
Yeah, it's a big risk to take. Drafting someone with a medical history such as his. But I'm leaning more towards a guy who just is getting a lot of praise and a lot of respect that he maybe doesn't deserve. And that being cornerback Quinion Mitchell out of Toledo.
Had a great Senior Bowl. That's his one thing that he's riding on right now.
Yeah, supposedly he had an outstanding Senior Bowl. We saw a few clips of the practices for the Senior Bowl where he had like one good play. The other ones was like a comeback route, a curl that he got toasted on.
And he was playing behind him too.
And then another one was like an out route receiver dropped it. He was probably 2 yards off of him when the ball got to him, and he celebrated the receiver dropping it as if he caused it. And then not only that, but we also saw a few clips of him playing in actual regular season college games for Toledo. And don't get me wrong, he has great reads the ball great. Can see the quarterback, can read him, can jump a bunch of routes. We saw that. Something we also saw was that last year
didn't have a great year.
Didn't at all. Got a lot of tackles. That also meant a lot of receivers caught a ball on him.
Yeah. That, and we were watching the highlights, I guess, from his sophomore year, and he had 5 picks on the year, and 4 of them were in one game against Northern Illinois. How much are we talking of weight of Northern Illinois' quarterback to an NFL prospect?
Yeah.
Do I think he's going to be a great third corner? Yes. Do I think he's by head and shoulder number 1 cornerback in this draft, like a lot of people are trying to make him out to be? No. I think both Bama corners are probably as elite as they come. Kool-Aid McKinstry is his draft stock is falling because he didn't have a lot of balls get thrown his way last year.
Right.
Which is the best thing a corner can write on his resume, but whatever.
Yeah. Less targets. Obviously, the receiver was covered up pretty well. If the quarterback didn't even think about throwing it his way.
Yeah.
But that also, helped his teammate, Terrion Arnold, he didn't allow a lot of catches this year, even though he was thrown to quite a bit. So you got 2 Bama cornerbacks in there, and then somehow, some way, people are still writing off Toledo cornerback Quinion Mitchell as the number 1 in this draft. I'm not feeling it. Not at all. He's going to have some proving to do at the combine, in practices, wherever he lands. Wish the best of luck to him. But again, it's one of those players it's a big risk to take.
Yeah. Just with the amount of proven gameplay from, let's say, the top 20 prospects in this draft, he has to have the worst gameplay.
Right.
Whereas you got monsters like Nate Wiggins, who played at Clemson and saw NFL arms, I'm forgetting the Florida State guy's name, the quarterback.
Jordan Travis?
Yeah. Saw Jordan Travis, played well against Florida State.
Very well.
Yeah, and so where does Quinion Mitchell, he might be my cornerback 4. I know Redfish loves him, and he's probably fuming right now listening to us. But
he just hasn't proven it to me yet.
That and Senior Bowl to me is very much so line-based, one-on-ones with offensive and defensive linemen. That's where you're really going to tell who's going to be, who has the tools in their toolbox, which is my favorite quote from lineman camp all time. But who has the tools to make it to the NFL, and the offensive and defensive line Senior Bowl standout was Fuaga out of Florida State, out of Oregon State. Offensive tackle. I think he might even made his case to get taken over Ola Fashanu or Joe Alt. But both of those guys are the most legit tackles that we've seen in a long time.
Yeah. Yeah, it should be interesting. Combine should be an interesting draft. Like I said in the last episode, still no word yet on whether we're going to do another mock draft episode or a real-time draft episode. We'll figure it out. More than likely, yes.
So I'll say we'll definitely do a mock draft. I don't know if we'll. I know I'll be working during the draft, so I won't be able to get
I think
off.
I will too, but we'll
we might
see.
see a redfish and accessory off the dome. Adams.
Oh yeah, redfish in the Adams.
Redfish in the Adams. Maybe have a draft spectacular, but yeah, I mean it's an exciting time of year. I love the combine. That's where I predict somebody to be awful and I predict somebody to be great.
This is true. And, piggybacking off that, you heard our predictions for people we think might not will make it in the NFL or who might not be all that they're talked up to be. We're going to switch it up now. Now we're going to talk about some people that we think aren't regarded as highly as they should be. Might, outperform other players in this combine and move up their draft stock a little bit. Would you like to go first or would you like me to go first?
You can go first because I got two or three guys that I can piggyback off of, but I know you've got your guys and I don't have them. I don't have that guy.
I've got my guys. They're both,
Georgian
skilled players out of Georgia who in a lot of mock drafts you'll see either skimming the end of the first round or anywhere between early to mid second round. And on both sides of the ball, my top guy is cornerback Kamari Lassiter. Just another monster at cornerback. You've seen this Georgia defense 3 seasons in a row now just come out and dominate SEC football. And he's, definitely a focal point of that defense. He's been able to shut down quite a few good receivers over the few years. He's also pretty big. I think he's right at 6 feet, maybe 6'1", but like 180, and he's quick. Got a hell of a wingspan on him. And I could definitely see him, coming out to this combine and overperforming, proving that he deserves to be in the first round. The other guy, also from Georgia, but on the other side of the ball, wide receiver Ladd McConkey. He's one of those guys, pretty high motor, pretty gritty. But I could see him coming in the league and fitting on almost any NFL team, being that second or third receiver, being that guy who's going to get you a first down and third and short, going to get open. Great route running from this guy. Great hands also. When you're coming off of a Georgia team that has that tight end Brock Bowers and still getting this much recognition because they basically used him as another tight end, right? He's running those short routes where Brock Bowers was running 20, 30 yards down the field, and he's a pretty safe guy to throw to. And I think that people are going to start realizing that at the combine. Might shoot up a little bit in the draft stock. Might be a guaranteed first-round pick. And I've seen a few mock drafts that have the Chiefs taking him at 32. Fits perfectly, in my opinion.
Yeah. Sure-handed, which is kind of the only thing they need. But one of my guys, looking at this mock draft that's in front of us right now, it's hard not to say Jared Verse because they have him going 24 to the Cowboys. In my opinion, there's no way he's not a top 15 pick.
Yeah.
He's the amount of teams that run a 3-4 compared to a 4-4-3. I can't say that he fits both. He's more of a D end than he is an outside linebacker.
Right.
Whereas Dallas Turner, he might be able to play both. He's big enough to stop the run, but he's legit. like Dallas Turner is an elite athlete, whereas Jared Verse is the perfect defensive end, in my opinion.
Right. Yep. Prototype. The end.
Yes.
Jared versus him.
Also, a guy that I have really high might be my interior defensive lineman one is Byron Murphy out of Texas.
This is y'all's first glimpse at. Oh,
Julia just let him
she's
out.
gone now. Off the Dome's house mascot, Ellie / Tiny / Little Joe.
/ Gojo.
Gojo, yeah. Couldn't forget about Gojo.
But yeah, Byron Murphy out of Texas is an athlete as well. A great 3 technique.
Yeah. Big guy, too. He got a lot of power.
Yeah, but he's not as much of a run snapper as, what's his name? Tavarius Sweat was the other defensive lineman from Texas. But if I see 2 Texas interior defensive linemen go in the first 2 rounds, I think that's perfect. And it says a lot about what LSU did this offseason and bringing Bo Davis in. So I'm excited for them. But a guy that it's just slept on, that's a great... I mean, I want to say Brian Thomas because he's at the end of the first round, but you've got... It kind of depends on team need at that point.
Yeah.
It's not like he's getting passed up for... I mean, him and Keon Coleman probably have a great 1-2. Like, either one of them can go over each other. Just depends on team needs.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely a guy you don't want to see within your division, but not on your team.
Yeah.
Brian Thomas, Keon Coleman, both those guys kind of, are overshadowed by some of the other wide receiver prospects, but I think are just as good, can hold up in the NFL just as well as the rest of them.
I also think both of them will shine in the combine. Both of them have breakaway speed. I know Keon Coleman can jump out of the gym. We haven't had to see Brian Thomas try to elevate.
Well, because we have a great quarterback who puts the ball where it needs to be.
Yeah. So I think both of those guys are going to shine at the combine. They may get overshadowed by Marvin Harrison and Malik Neighbors like they already are. But I feel like they're going to solidify themselves as first-round picks. They're without question that they'll be in the first round.
Right. And I know my last secondary prediction hit pretty well with Alontae Taylor a few years ago. I'm not as confident in Kamari Lassiter as I am in him, only because I don't think the Saints will take him. But if they do, you'll see me jump up. It's just the same. And I really have never predicted a wide receiver before. So this is new to me. Usually I'm the running back guru when it comes to prospects and college talent coming to the NFL. So I'm sure in the next few weeks I'll find a guy.
There's pretty few of them this year.
Yeah. I mean, it was stacked last year.
Yeah. This year, it's Blake Corum and a group of guys. And Blake Corum's not a very big NFL body.
No. I'll find somebody, though. I always do.
Yeah, and I hope to deep dive into your offensive linemen. I mean, I know a lot of the tackles.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we get a lot of our information and our feel for these players at the combine.
Yeah.
So with that still ahead of us, I'm not worried that I won't be able to find one.
Yeah, that, and I'm going to end up doing some film breakdown on some offensive linemen.
The drop step.
But yeah, I mean, there's plenty of offensive tackles to break down, and I just haven't got into the interior offensive lineman. I know Powers Johnson out of Oregon is one of the guys that's projected to go in the first round. I don't know anything about him at all, but I will discover that before the next time we talk about offensive lineman. That's for sure.
Yeah. I think that'll do it for this episode of OTD. Make sure to tell your friends about us, like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. We love doing this. We hope that you like us doing this. Once again, Off the Dome Sports Podcast. Go follow us on Twitter. You could be the winner of the next giveaway we did. And another huge shout out to the Know Network. Find them on social media at Be in the Know, spelled the correct way, Kneaux. The only way to spell it. This has been the 100th episode of Off the Dome Sports Podcast. I'm Mustang.
I'm Rebo Hustle.
And we will see you next time.